The recency effect is a fascinating phenomenon that affects how we remember things. It's part of the serial position effect, which describes the tendency of people to recall the first, primacy effect, and last items, recency effect, in a series better than those in the middle. The recency effect specifically refers to our tendency to remember the most recent items or information in a list or sequence more accurately than the middle items. Imagine you're at the grocery store and you have a list of items to buy: apples, milk, bread, eggs, and cheese. When you get to the checkout counter, you're more likely to remember the last items on your list, eggs and cheese, more vividly than the items in the middle, like milk and bread. This tendency to remember the most recent items is the recency effect in action. There are a few reasons why this occurs. One of the primary reasons is the concept of short-term memory. When you encounter a list of items, your short-term memory retains the most recent information because it's still fresh in your mind. The last items are readily available for retrieval because they were the last to be processed and stored. Let's say you're studying for a test and your friend quizzes you on a list of historical events: World War I, Great Depression, Renaissance, Industrial Revolution, and Middle Ages. As your friend reads the list, you might remember the Middle Ages and World War I better than the events in the middle, like the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution. This recall pattern occurs because your short-term memory is more effective in retaining the most recent information. Another aspect contributing to the recency effect is the way our brains process and encode information. The items at the end of a list or sequence are still fresh in our minds when it's time to recall, making them more easily retrievable. This effect is often stronger when there's a delay between receiving the information and recalling it. For instance, if you're asked to recall the items from a list after a few minutes of distraction, you're more likely to remember the most recent items, the ones at the end of the list. The recency effect isn't always present, though. It can be influenced by various factors. For example, if there's a distraction immediately after seeing the list, it can disrupt the recency effect. In such cases, the distraction interferes with the short-term memory's ability to hold on to the most recent information. Moreover, the recency effect can be affected by individual differences. For some people, the primacy effect might overshadow the recency effect, leading them to remember the first items on a list more than the last ones. It can also depend on the specific content being remembered and the attention given to each item in the list. Understanding the recency effect can be helpful in various contexts, such as learning, teaching, and communication. For educators, it emphasizes the importance of reinforcing key points at the end of a lesson or review. In presentations, it suggests that ending on a strong note can leave a lasting impression on the audience. In essence, the recency effect illustrates how our memory tends to prioritize the most recent information we encounter, making it more accessible when we need to recall a list or sequence of items.